What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. FantasyTeamAdvisors.com, bringing home the bacon NBA DFS video. It is Wednesday. We have a 14-game slate before the break on Thursday. So if you've never been here before, we do things a little bit differently. We're going to go over all of the games. We are going to look at 3 top, 3 mid, and 3 value picks at each position with their projections and their DVP. So if you like that, let us know down below. If you're new to the channel, we do have giveaways every single video. There are 2 ways to win, technically 3 this week. But the first way to win, like this video, be a subscriber, and leave a comment on the video. If this video gets at least 50 likes, you have a chance at a free week of FTA+. That is not only NBA, just a week of NBA. That is a week of all sports that are currently offered. If this video gets at least 100 likes, you have a chance at a free month. 150 likes, a chance at a $200 free year. 200 or more likes on this video, a chance at a lifetime pass worth $500. Second way to win, somewhere in this video, I will say a keyword or key phrase. Be listening for it, type that in, and have a chance to win a second week of FTA+. And the third way to win this week, if you're new to the channel, we have just started a new YouTube channel here. It's called It's the History Of. The first video out is the history of the NFL. If you want to give it a listen, go check that out. So anyone who subscribes to this channel, goes to this video, watches the video in the entirety, and leaves a comment, you have a chance to win a free month of FTA+. We will choose the winner in the main slate breakdown for the NFL for Week 13. So make sure you go check all of that information out. Also, at the end of this video, we've already put out a complete breakdown of Thursday night or Thursday day football for Thursday, this Thursday, Thanksgiving. We broke it down. We built lineups there. And we have our top 5 favorite stacks of Week 13. Those videos will be at the end. So let's buckle up. Let's get ready. And let's check it out. So yesterday's video, as of the making of the video, this video, did not hit 50 likes. So what I say is get the minimum of 50 likes before the main slate locks. So that video from yesterday only got 354 views, 47 likes, but we did have a keyword. Now, the keyword from yesterday was outlier. Not very many people put it in there, but we are going to see who the winner is. We're going to randomly choose it right now. We're going to roll it until we see the word outlier or outlier.bet here. There you go. Bruiser, Raider. I want to bring home the bacon tonight, so I can not only sign up for FTAsports, but also Outlier too. So congratulations, Bruiser. Please email me, dfshelp1@gmail.com. That's dfshelp, the number 1 at gmail.com, and we will give you guys... let me know your username on the site, and we will get you set up for that free week of FTA+. So, as always, video is sponsored by Outlier.bet. If you have not already checked it out, the link is down below. Get a 7-day free trial using our link. If you sign up with our link after 7 days and go with their normal package, we're going to give you a free month of FTA+. If you go with their premier package, we are going to give you 3 months free, which is a $90 value. So make sure you check it out, especially on a massive slate like this. Whether or not you're looking for Vegas odds or you're looking for prop bets, you can check out all of the games in there. Check out the money lines, you can check out the spread, and you can check out the over-unders for all things needed sports betting DFS-wise. Make sure you check out outlier.bet today. So we have this is what's weird. We have an 11-game main slate on DraftKings, and we have a 14-game main slate on Fanduel and Yahoo. So we are going to go through the projections. They're early projections. We obviously have a lot of players that are in or out or questionable or game time decision, which will open up some of the value. So after you guys listen to this, make sure you check out all of our projections and simulations a couple hours before tip-off. So that being said, we're still going to build some lineups, one lineup on DraftKings, FanDuel, and Yahoo after we go through all of the projections here. So buckle up, get ready, paper, pen, or your ear. Let's rock and roll. So again, these are going to be early projections. A lot of people have that questionable tag, but we are still going to go through and hopefully have some success with this. So let's start with point guard. We got SGA at the top, Got him projected right around 51 to 53 fantasy points. Going up against Golden State, he has the 17th DVP against the point guard position there. Number 2, we've got LaMelo Ball right around 48 to 52 fantasy points. Going up against Miami, 12th DVP, but again, I do like this matchup for him. And then the third top one is Kyrie Irving going up against the Knicks, 44 to 48 fantasy point range. He has the 23rd DVP against the point guard position. Moving down the list a little bit to see some value or some mid-tier picks here. Got Jamal Murray going up against Utah. Love to take a team against Utah lately. Right around 38 to 40 fantasy points, 27th DVP. Tyrese Maxey against Houston, about 38 to 40 fantasy points. We got 11th DVP there. And then Darius Garland, we got about 35 to 37 fantasy points going up against Atlanta, 29th DVP against the position for Darius. Now we look for some value. Depending on where we're at, how much you want to spend. We are looking at Carlton Carrington, right around 25 to 28 fantasy points, going up against the Clippers. Does have second DVP, but we are getting some value under 5K there. You've got Malik Monk against Minnesota, 24 to 28 fantasy points, basically right in the middle of the 18th DVP. And then Anthony Black going up against Chicago. They are 30th DVP. We're looking at about 22 to 25 fantasy points out of Mr. Black. Moving to the shooting guard position now. We've got Tyrese Halliburton. Excuse me. Tyrese Halliburton here. Right around 40 fantasy points. Wouldn't be surprised if he goes up a little bit more than that. I do like this matchup here against Portland. It is 6th DVP, but I don't mind him whatsoever. We've got Brandon Miller right around 35 to 38 fantasy points going up against Miami. They are the 20th DVP. And then Benedict Mathurin right around 31 to 34 fantasy points. They have the worst DVP against the shooting guard position for Portland. 30th DVP there, which I really, really like. Mid-tier picks. Now, there's not a ton, which is wild. We have this many games, not a ton of mid-tier picks that I feel comfortable with. But I'm looking at Austin Reeves going up against San Antonio, right around 30 fantasy points there in the middle of DVP at 15th. We got Michael Bridges right around 29 fantasy points against Dallas, right around 9th DVP. And then Josh Giddey, 29 to 32 fantasy point range, going up against Orlando, 21st DVP out of 30. Then to find some value, depending on how far down you want to go, Jaime Jaquez Jr. going up against Charlotte, 22 to 25 fantasy points. He's got 19th DVP there. Cody Martin, right around 22 fantasy points against 12th DVP. And then Corey Kispert going up against the Clippers, 21 to 24 fantasy points, 18th DVP against Kispert in his position. Moving to the small forward position today. We got LeBron James here, right around 47 to 50 fantasy points, 7th DVP. Franz Wagner, 47 fantasy points, 8th DVP against Chicago. We love Franz. We absolutely love him. Did let us down a little bit, under 50 there, but played 40 minutes. The minutes are there for him. I'm going to go back to the well with Wagner. And then we got Jalen Williams going up against Golden State. 45 fantasy points is where we're projecting early. 5th DVP. So it's not the best matchup for him, but if you do want to pay down a little bit instead of Wagner, you want to go Williams, I'm completely okay with that. Mid-tier picks here, you got Brandon Miller going up against Miami, 35 fantasy points, 20th DVP there. Michael Porter Jr. against Utah, 35 fantasy points, 14th DVP. And Anunoby, 34 fantasy points, 15th DVP. Trying to find some value here. Depending how far down you want to go. You could go down to Jake LaRavia against Detroit, 22 to 25 fantasy point range. Detroit is 29th against the small forward here. We've got Josh Okogie going up against Brooklyn, 21 fantasy points, 17 DVP. And then if you want to go down just a little bit more, Keyshawn George against the Clippers, 22 to 24 fantasy points, dead last, 30th against the small forward. So let's move on to the power forward now. We've got Anthony Davis at the top. Now, again, these are all back-to-backs. Right around 52 to 55 fantasy points against San Antonio, 20th DVP. We got Sabonis right around 43 fantasy points. Minnesota is 21st DVP against the power forward. And then Durant, 41 fantasy points, with Brooklyn being the 16th DVP, and he's facing one of his many old teams. Go down mid-tier here. I'm looking at Jimmy Butler going against Charlotte, about 38 to 42 fantasy points, 19th DVP. John Collins, 35 fantasy points, right around 22nd DVP for him. And then Julius Randle, 35 fantasy points, going up against Sacramento. They are 11th DVP against the position. Trying to find some sort of value here, depending on how far down you want to go. Got Jeremiah Robinson Earl going up against Toronto, about 23 to 25 fantasy points, 24th DVP there. Royce O'Neal going up against Brooklyn, 22 to 25 fantasy points as well, 17th DVP. And Naz Reid against Sacramento, 22 to 25 yet again, 11th DVP against the position. Now we move to center. I don't normally pay down at center too much, but we do have some great value here though. We've got Jokic here going up against Utah. You love to see this. Utah is dead last against the center position. Got Jokic right around 58 to 62 fantasy points. He's always a threat to go way above that. He's got a great matchup here. It just scares me a little bit if there is going to be a blowout, that he might not get the run that we need here. So that's one to look at. We got Wemby right around 53 to 55 fantasy points, 16th DVP, and Anthony Davis 52 to 55, right around 20th DVP for Davis. Going down the list a little bit, depending on where you're at, you got Bam Adebayo right around 40 fantasy points, going up against Charlotte, 8th DVP. We got Nikola Vucevic, who got us a double-double yesterday in one of our bets, 37 to 40 fantasy points, 4th DVP. And then we've got Zubac here, 35 fantasy points is where I'm looking at against Washington, right around 28th DVP. Now, if we're paying down, which I don't normally do, you got Walker Kessler, 31 fantasy points, right around 25th DVP. You've got, going down the list a little bit more, depending. You've got Andre Drummond if Embiid is out. Now, let's see. Embiid will be out. How long will he be out for? Okay. So he is out. So Drummond makes a little bit of sense. 23 to 25 fantasy points if he gets the minutes. 17 DVP there. And then we have Mo Wagner going up against Chicago. They're 27 DVP against the position. Right around 22 to 25 fantasy points. So those are the early projections. 3 top, 3 mid, and 3 value picks at each position. Let's go ahead. Now these are going to be early lineups. Not a ton. There'll be a ton of news that comes out throughout the day, especially since there's 14 games total right before Thanksgiving break, before everyone is off for the next day. So we look at that. Honestly, take this lineup with a grain of salt, but I wanted to just kind of build some sort of lineup for you guys. I think Jokic has to be in there with his DVP. Best matchup for him there. I just think he has to be in there. So I'm going to lock him in at center position. And with him being so expensive, we're going to have to find value at other positions. Cunningham is one that I'm very confused about. He's got a hip problem. He is doubtful, so he is out. Okay. So we'll take Cunningham out of there. Jacquez Jr., I love this matchup. And he's a very cheap option. Nikhil Walker or Alexander Walker, I'll take it 4,000, which again, we're going to have to find this with what we're paying for. So Keegan Murray going up against Minnesota, I do not mind that matchup there. Jalen Williams here. We've got him going up against Golden State. I will take some. So now we've got those guys, and now we're kind of looking 6,400 the rest of the way. I did find one that I am interested in a little bit in Georges Niang. It's been weird for him. So the minutes have been there and the production was there, but then he had a down game against Toronto. So if we look at what he's bringing to the table, I want to see what his DVP is because he is a cheap option. I that I'm intrigued by. Let's put it that way. So if we look at his DVP, it's 21st against Atlanta, and with an implied team total of 125. So I don't mind him at 4,000. This is one of those boomer bust type lineups because you've got the big guy, you've got Jalen Williams you're paying up for, Keegan Murray, and then the rest are kind of value picks here. So another one we can kind of look at. So we have about 7,700 to work with for a point guard and then a power forward. So looking right around that range of 7,700-ish. Josh Giddey against Orlando, I can see. Jared McCain, actually, with Embiid being out, outside of this game, I mean, he's been pretty good. The minutes are there for him. So Jared McCain, I want to see what his DVP is. Jared McCain's DVP against Houston, 11th. So not the best, but I'm definitely going to put him in there. And that allows us 8,500 for a power forward, which I'm feeling pretty comfortable with either Jaren Jackson, RJ Barrett, Markkanen. I'm okay with Jared Allen as well. Let's see, Markkanen here. I'm going to go with Lauri Markkanen. So we've got Carrington all the way down to Jokic. We're going to enter that lineup. I don't have the funds because I don't play on Fanduel. So we are going to enter this lineup using Fanduel points. Maybe I don't have the Fanduel points. I don't even have the Fanduel points. I don't play on Fanduel. So Carrington all the way down to Jokic is a lineup that you guys could look at. So that is one. We're going to get out of there. Now we're going to go to DraftKings. For whatever reason, only 11 games on the main slate. I don't understand why they're so different. It's so weird. But if we look at the games they do not have the Denver game on here, which is wild. So that's a big name out of there. So yeah, let's take a look at building a lineup without Jokic on this little slate here. So instead of Jokic, maybe we'll go with Karl Anthony Towns. He's a double-double machine. He's got a great matchup here against Dallas, 29 DVP. Looking at the point guard position, we got Trey Jones. If he can get some minutes, again, these are early, so definitely pay attention. The minutes have been there for him. The production's been up and down. But at 3,500, he does allow you to go different directions. You just got to make sure he will be in that lineup tomorrow or today. Brandon Miller against Miami, I'm okay with. Go down to Jake LaRavia, which we talked about in the breakdown. I like the matchup for him. We got LeBron James here. I usually like to use him if AD is out. So I'll still use him. He's been getting double-doubles lately, so that's okay with that. So now we have two positions left. We have a forward and a utility with an average of 4,700, which is kind of, we're there. We got a $4,100 play. Game log-wise, the minutes are weird for him. But if he can get a run here against Cleveland, if they're playing from behind and he gets extra minutes, I am definitely okay with that. Now we're at 5,400 for a utility spot. Looking at the utility spot, depending on where we're at, Najee Marshall, Clint Capella, you've got Malik Monk. You go Keldon Johnson down at 25th DVP. The minutes are there for Keldon. I'm going to go to Keldon Johnson. So Trey Jones all the way down to Keldon Johnson. Obviously, we got a bunch of value plays here. Actually, a couple. Trey Jones is one. LaRavia is one. Zachary is one. Keldon Johnson, 5,400. Maybe not so much. So I'm going to enter that lineup in there. And now we will do one Yahoo lineup. We will pay for Jokic here at center. Now you can look at that. Without him there, you're averaging $25 a play. With him in there, you go down to 20. So looking at some of these value picks, because again, with the price, you're gonna have to find the value. We're just gonna be having to find the value at each position. So looking at point guard with value-wise, maybe a Trey Jones. Let's see how cheap he is on this site. $17 under the $20K or under the $20. I'm okay with that one. I will definitely take that one. Shooting guard, looking at the position at $20. what you're averaging, you can see that all these guys are so expensive. But if we look at a smaller one, maybe a Beasley as well. Let's see how cheap Beasley is, $17. So again, we can kind of build a lineup here. Looking at guard for around $21. Malik Monk at 22. Scottie Pippen Jr. at 22. Brandon Boston at 20. Keontae George going up against Denver. Keontae George, I don't mind him. I will take a little bit of exposure. He's coming off 38.6 fantasy points against San Antonio. Had 26 actual points, played 34 minutes. The only problem is some of these guys are playing a second game of back-to-back, and we don't know 100% how it will affect them, but we'll definitely see. So looking at small forward, $21 at small forward here. Depending on where you want to go, Dalton Knecht against San Antonio. We've got Harrison Barnes at 18 going up against the Lakers. Royce O'Neal against Brooklyn. I do like Royce O'Neal. We did talk about him before. Now we have a power forward, and a utility with an average of $22 left. Laravia, I do want. Now $25 for a forward and a utility spot. I'm okay with that if you want to go in that direction. So maybe a Jaden McDaniels, maybe a Koulibaly at 23. DeAndre Hunter, Lou Dort, I don't mind. Probably going to go, let's go with Keegan Murray. And now we're at $26 for one player at a utility spot. Going down the list, Valanciunas, Jabari Smith Jr., Keldon Johnson. I want Keldon Johnson. So we have used all the lineup there, all the salary. Trey Jones, Malik Beasley, Keontae George, Royce O'Neal, Jake LaRavia, Keegan Murray, Nikola Jokic, and Keldon Johnson makes up our Yahoo lineup. And we'll do the key phrase of the day if you're still listening is cough drop, because if you didn't notice, I had to pause this video about 10 times because I'm still sick. I'm still getting over it. I've got an itch in my throat, and if I talk too long, it makes me cough. So I've got a cough drop in, and I didn't want to do this. I didn't want to do that to you guys. So the key phrase of today is cough drop. And hopefully we can bring home the bacon today. We'll sit and recharge for NBA for a day. We've got all of our NFL content for the Thanksgiving slate and the top stacks. Check that out. We'll be doing more videos for the Friday showdown between the Raiders and the Chiefs. We'll be doing a video for the main slate breakdown of the NFL using SaberSim to build lineups for you guys. We'll also be doing rankings video out there depending on when you watch this video. So that's what I've got. Any questions, comments, concerns, get those down below. Good luck today. Let me know how you did yesterday. And as always, let's bring home some bacon. Peace.